Hello, and welcome to Intentional Leadership, the podcast show that will help you break the barriers holding you back from the true life of significance you are meant to live. I'm your host, Janelle Bruland, and I invite you to join us as I share leadership lessons and specific strategies to transform your leadership, crush your goals, and love your life. Are you ready? Let's go. This is Janelle Bruland. Welcome to the Intentional Leadership Podcast. In my last podcast, I talked about how career burnout is becoming an epidemic. As leaders, we're all laboring under a lot more stress to perform, to respond to continuous communication, to be our best. Unfortunately, doing all of this at once is not possible without taking a toll on our health and mental well-being. Career burnout is real, and our health and well-being are critical to our long-term success. In order to be the best leaders we can be, we must manage our health as well as we can. Improving my health was a critical decision that kept me from career burnout. It forced me away from the overwork that was contributing to it, allowing me to focus on improving my health. When I identified this for myself, I decided to focus on 3 key areas to make a change: nutrition, exercise, and sleep. When I corrected these areas, I found that I had more energy and felt better overall. This then translated to both my personal and professional life, and my performance as a leader improved. And it also created a positive example for my team. In today's podcast, we're going to talk about the first component to optimum health, the power of your energy with great nutrition. We've all heard drink plenty of water, and you probably had your parents say to you, eat your vegetables. But it's hard to do when we move at this breakneck speed every day. I had to learn to make the time to eat properly. My husband, Graham, really helped me out with this as he's the chef in our home. As a high-performance athlete, he's learned to be very disciplined with his nutrition. So guess what? I've asked him to join me on this podcast today. Graham, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. High-performance athlete. What a compliment.
Well, nutrition's foundational to good health, right? Yet as business leaders, we often don't pay attention to it. I know that I've often had the excuse of just being too busy to eat right. Graham, let's talk about this.
Well, I think we all are so busy. We're chasing kids, we're chasing work. And if we go back to what Maslow started in, way back in 1943 with his, the Maslow hierarchy of needs and the pyramid that he created. And, we start with the physiological needs. The physiological needs, basically we need shelter, we need sleep, we need food, water, clothing. And once we get that, then we can go out and seek others, safety, security, jobs. Then we move up the ladder a little bit, up that pyramid that he has, to friendship, family, intimacy. And then we go to the esteem, respect. And then at the top of it, we have the desire to be the most we can be. And often today, I think, because we have water, air, food, shelter, we often just jump to friends and let's see what we can be and how much we can do and get done. And we just forget about the basics, the bottom of the food pyramid or bottom of his pyramid, which is just nutrition.
I agree. I've found in my work that the majority of leaders show little attention to their physical health, and it's such an important foundation, but it's often neglected, and we jump to that upper level of the pyramid towards self-actualization, self-fulfillment, and we're not paying attention to the foundation.
Yeah, I think that reminds me of when I was in banking. Back before I retired from banking, I didn't have energy, and I was slow and I was sluggish, and so I would sit at my desk all day long and I would look at spreadsheets. And in the morning, I would take clients out to breakfast. I would take clients or prospects out to lunch, and I was not watching what I was eating. And then I'd have to go to meetings or events at night, or chasing kids. I would just grab whatever was in front of me, and it was hard. It was hard, and I started to gain weight, get a little soft, and I wasn't focusing on my nutrition. And it was really paramount, or it really kind of showed up one day when my daughter Maisha was 5, and she wanted to learn to ride her bike. So I took her to a local park, Lake Padden, and they have a great trail that goes all the way around, and parts of it are flat, some are hilly, but it's super easy, and it has soft landings for the kids when they're learning. So we went around the park, and this is a park or trail that I've run around a lot as a kid, and I'm holding the back of her seat on her bike, and I'm walking with her and then running, and then I would let go and she would take off. And then she'd tumble and I'd go grab her, pick her up. And while we were doing this, her brother was like a dog, just coming back and forth and off on his own and coming back. And one time I finally said to her, Mesha, stop for a second. I can't. I have to catch my breath. And that's when I realized that I needed to change something. I needed to get in shape and I needed to eat properly. And so I made the decision that I needed healthy habits. I needed to make the choice. And I did make the choice that, okay, what is it that I need to do to, become a better person and have more energy? And so I first started with working out so that I could go around and hold her and help her with the bike. And then I also focused on the nutrition and what I was putting in my body. What was it that I was doing? And my motivation, because, we all have willpower for a day or two, especially me. I can get in, I'll eat well, and then I'll see some candy dots or something, and I want to eat those instead. And so my motivation was to be able to stay up with all of our kids up until their teens. I figured all bets are off when they're teens. I didn't know I was getting older. They're getting stronger. And so my goal was to be in better physical shape, and as well as teach them how to eat and what to eat. And so then I focused on that, and that was my motivation. It was to be a good example for the kids and keep up with them.
That's great. Yeah, and we want to be healthy to be around for our kids and for our grandkids. But it's hard, as you talked about. You can make the choice, and you've got your why, but willpower doesn't always work. That we have to create these healthy habits. They need to become a ritual each day, and then they're going to be much more effective. You want the habit to be as automatic as brushing your teeth, that you don't even think about it. So let's talk about some of the nutrition habits that we have put in place to help us eat right and to power up our nutrition so that we have really great energy.
So the first thing you need to do is read labels. Arm yourself with that information. Pay attention to what is in that you're buying. Is it a whole food? Is it something that it's obvious? If it's broccoli, it's broccoli. The only thing you have a choice of is it organic or not. But if you're buying something in a can, a bag, a jar, you need to read that label and know what exactly is in that.
That's so true. I remember when I was improving my diet, and I really like yogurt a lot. And so I thought that's healthy, right? And that's what we think. But many, if not most yogurts, I found out are loaded with sugar. And most people tend to consider yogurt a healthy food and don't really pay particular attention to its sugar content. And most of them have like 16 grams per serving, which is a ton. And according to the American Health Association, the maximum amount of sugars that you should eat in a day for a woman is about 25 grams or 6 teaspoons. For a man, it's about 37 grams or 9 teaspoons. So for me, in that one small container of yogurt, I was having over half of what my sugar was for the day.
No, and we were at the airport last week, and I was hungry, and I thought, oh, okay, I'll go grab a bar and a Gatorade is what I was looking at, and realized that one Gatorade that I had in my hand, because I looked at it, had all the sugar that I needed for the entire day. And that didn't include the bar I was going to grab.
Wow.
I just put it back. But yeah, no, you have to be aware, because you think, oh, it's healthy. That's one of the things that I showed you the other day. Is I went around the grocery store and I took pictures of these logos, and it's healthy this, kind that, lovely this, honest that. And you read the label and it's garbage. One of them said healthy sugar or healthy Swedish fish. How can a Swedish fish be healthy? Come on, let's be realistic.
Oh, that's a good point. Well, let's also talk about another reason for reading labels for calories. And I know that we don't have to count calories all of the time, but I think it is important for us to know how many calories we should have. So what does an average woman, average man need to eat in calories per day?
So that's a good point. I think we, just as a society, have focused too much on calories and too much on fat historically. And so just the basics, just be aware of what you are going to consume, what you should consume is the most important. And so an average woman needs approximately 2,000 calories a day, and a man needs 2,500 calories a day. So if you want to lose some weight, you need to eat less than that or burn more than that. And so that's really the basics, the nuts and bolts. We don't need to go too deep into that. Something when I'm reading labels also, which may be more helpful to the calories, is macros. Just be aware of, okay, is it fat? Is it carbohydrate? Or is it a protein? And how much of each is it? And you put those two things together, the macros and the calories, and you're going to get awfully close. And that's really what we need to do, is just be aware.
Another thing I think that's helped us too is less is more. So when we're looking at the ingredients, the less ingredients are better. If you can recognize the ingredients, all the better. If you can read them versus the words you don't understand, which are probably fillers.
Well, Red 7 and high fructose corn syrup and my dots, there's only 2 ingredients. It's great. And I can pronounce them both.
Oh, okay. So read labels, arm yourself with information is the first strategy, and that you can use to improve your nutritional health. So the second one, make a plan for healthy eating. So Graham, let's talk about how have you helped our family make a plan so that we can eat healthier?
Well, it was a struggle at first, changing diets in our family. We were used to traditional foods, so things that were not really that good for us, fried foods or things with lots of oils and fats and cheeses. And so that transition took a little bit of convincing of the kids. But really what you do is you just need to, the best thing is to make that plan and going to the grocery store with a list of what you're going to make for the week, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and buy those items. And staying on the outside, that perimeter of the grocery store really helps. Once you get past the Chinese food and the deli section, you can hit the vegetables, the fruits, and go on from there and avoid most of the middle of the grocery store. And so that's kind of the first thing that I've done. And then, one of the things that's helped when we don't have that control, something that we all go to social events, we're going out with friends, and 2 things you can do. First is eat before you go. Eat a healthy salad before you go out, and then you're not as tempted because you're full. Another tip or thing that we've done is volunteering to bring food if we're going to a friend's house, or bring a cocktail. You bring a salad, then you have something to eat. If we don't want gluten or sugar or dairy, which our family seems to have many of those allergies, we can bring something that everybody can eat. And that is a great way of doing it, as well as if we're bringing a cocktail, we can bring vodka sodas with some lime and just skip the vodka part if that's what we're doing, if that is the week or the month of the challenge that we're doing. Another thing, when you're eating and you're at a birthday party, take that cake and then mush it around, squish it around, move it around the plate, and put it back. No one will know that you didn't eat any. It's great. So I think that it's important to just have those, be ready, be armed for when those challenges come up, and have a plan. That's the biggest part.
No, I agree completely. And, analyzing the food you're currently eating and looking at those things that are not healthy, getting those out of the house and having a plan each week for those healthy meals. I know because we've had that plan to have those healthy meals, we're less tempted, because if you don't have that plan, you don't have a dinner planned, then it's easier to grab those things that are unhealthy.
So, I grab a bar constantly.
Right. That makes a good point. So make a plan for healthy eating as a second strategy, and get rid of those bad foods you shouldn't be having, like the fried foods, the foods high in sugar that we talked about before, and add in those healthy organic vegetables and meats. So we talked about 2 strategies. A third is move more and increase your NEAT. So if you don't know what that is, one of the most interesting things I learned in studying nutrition for my book, The Success Lie, was about how our bodies use what we eat, along with how we expend energy throughout the day. And non-exercise activity thermogenesis, or NEAT, try to say that 3 times. This is the energy expended for everything we do that is not sleeping, eating, or sports-like exercise. And it ranges from the energy expended walking to work, typing, performing yard work, fidgeting. According to a journal published by the American Heart Association, NEAT can vary by up to 2,000 calories per day between people of similar size, in part because of the substantial variation in the amount of activity that they perform. Now, what I find so fascinating about this is that we have some ability to control this, and we can increase our non-exercise activity throughout the day. So as we've been talking about, if we do want to burn more calories, if we are trying to lose weight, that we can actually do this in some simple ways. And Graham, I mentioned fidgeting, and often when I sit next to you, you're constantly tapping your foot or bouncing your leg, and you're burning calories through your fidgeting.
Well, I'm moving my chair right now in circles. So, yeah. I think that it's important that we just stay moving. You get that stand-up desk, go take the stairs, skip the elevator. It's that little exercise that is important, that can help. We often look at, 10,000 steps. Well, the 10,000 steps is kind of the bare minimum. And we're sitting at desks and chairs and looking at this computer screen, watching TV on our iPads or tablets. And
in a car, in meetings, on airplanes.
Yeah, absolutely. So we need to make sure that we're doing something to increase our movement. And walking to the meetings, or having walking meetings rather, is another way. Rather than just sitting in a meeting and in a conference room, if there's only 1 or 2 of you or 3, go for a walk. Go up and down this hall at the office, go for a walk around the block, have that meeting there.
Great idea. Great idea.
My best, or the thing that I do the best, is get up very frequently for breaks. And I know that others don't do that very well. They sit there and grind it out. And I probably should grind it out a little bit more and get up a little bit less. But that's another way to do it.
Now, that's a really good point, and that's something that I actually had to train myself. And I put a little timer on my Fitbit to remind me to get up, because I can get really focused, which is something I teach about, laser focus, to get more done. But it is important that we get up and take a break. Our minds can only really concentrate on activity well for 45 to 60 minutes, and then it's really healthy for us to get up, stretch, move around. And that now we know that is actually burning calories for us. So that's pretty amazing.
No, that 45 to 60 seconds is hard for me to pay attention to. I get it. No.
Another thing that you do, which used to drive us crazy, and especially the kids crazy, is parking far away, which makes you have to walk more. So tell us about that.
Oh, the kids used to grouse about that. Well, if we're at the grocery store, for instance, park right when you enter. And don't park near the entrance of the grocery store. Walk a quarter mile, walk an eighth of a mile, half a mile, whatever it is, to the store you need to get to. Don't park right up front. Don't drive around in circles. Just think about it. You go to the gym, especially when you're going to the gym.
Oh, that's so true.
You watch people, they're going to the gym, they're supposed to be working out, and they drive around and around and around looking for the spot up front.
Try to get that close parking
spot. Just park. You're going to the gym. You're going to work out. It's okay.
That is funny. That is too funny.
It's ridiculous. But anyway, that's one that is another way, just to get a little bit of extra movement.
That's great. Well, let's review what we've covered today. Nutrition is the foundation to good health. And good, healthy food is paramount to our well-being, to feeling high energy and operating at our best. Graham and I talked about 3 nutrition habits to power up your energy. The first one, reading labels. Arm yourself with information. The second, make a plan for healthy eating. Make sure that you're thinking ahead and preparing those healthy meals, making the plan so that you're well prepared when you run into trouble. And then third, move more by increasing your NEAT. Just by adding these simple ways throughout the day that you can move, you're actually burning calories. So thank you for taking the time to listen in today. We really want you to be able to power up your energy with great nutrition. Thanks, Graham, for joining us.
You bet. It was fun.
Our next podcast will be talking about the second component of having great health, exercise. And Graham's going to join me for that one too. Stay tuned for that podcast, and we will have some great information on how you can up your game in taking really great care of your health. Because who wants to have good health when we can have great health? I've also included in this podcast a leader's guide to review today's lesson. You can download this for free at janellebrulin.com. Use this handout for your own personal reflection, or it's also great to use as an exercise with your team. If you have any questions, please email me at janelle@legacy-leader.com. And if this podcast has been helpful to you, please subscribe to it, give it a 5-star review, and share it with others. This is how we can continue to provide this free content for you. For more episodes of the Intentional Leadership Podcast, go to janellebrulin.com/podcast. Remember, when you grow as a leader, your team will grow and your company will grow. You can transform your leadership, crush your goals, and love your life.